Today we're going to make magic together in the form of a double pedestal farmhouse table. And this will be the heart, the soul, and the base of our build. Osborne Wood Products' timeless trestle table in pine. This thing is solid and beautiful and timeless, just like our love. First things first, because this is pine, we're going to apply some pre-stained wood conditioner. Because pine likes to get blotchy, and we don't like blotchy. Pro tip. Well, this isn't actually a pro tip because it says on the can, but you need to apply stain within 2 hours of putting the pre-stained wood conditioner on. So read the can next time. Come on. I wasn't satisfied with the base stain selection from Minwax, so I decided to mix my own. So it's 2/3 Ipswich pine, 1/3 Puritan pine, and 1/3 heart. So if this color fails, at least we still have 1/3 of heart left.
You gotta have heart. Miles and miles of heart.
While the stain dries, we're going to prepare the boards to be joined together to build our tabletop. First up in this process is to joint the edge of the board. By running the board through the jointer, we're going to square it up to the adjacent edge, thus giving us a nice straight square edge to join our panel. After jointing, I'll run it through my planer to get a consistent thickness throughout the length of the entire board. And finally, I like to do one face jointing pass for good measure. Once all of the boards are prepped and ready, I'm going to take them down to the pipe clamps in my basement and make marks for the biscuit joiner. I'm marking out every 6 inches, and that's where we'll be putting little wood biscuits to help with the alignment of our tabletop. Line up your biscuit joiner and press and push the biscuit joiner into your piece of wood. Money.
Really ridiculously good looking.
Make your way down to the end of the board and keep in mind that these biscuits are not meant to strengthen the tabletop. They're strictly for alignment. If you're looking to add strength to a glue up, you may consider adding dowels, dominoes, or asking your wood to hit the weight room. That's a dad joke. Liberally apply glue to the side of the board, and then I'm going to put extra glue into the hole made by our biscuit joiner. Push the two together like a wood glue and biscuit sandwich, whack it with a mallet if you need to, and repeat for the third board, and the fourth board as well. I like to join my tabletops in sections, that way I get a nicely aligned base to build off of. Sometimes when you get past 4 or 5 boards, it starts to get a little bit unruly if some of the boards are bowed or they aren't sitting flush. So I like to take my time and do it in sections to get the perfect alignment. It's not actually perfect, it's not even close, but I feel like doing it in sections gives me the best chance to succeed as a person. This is the perfect example of how the biscuits can help your alignment when you have one or more of your boards that are bowing. Because the biscuit is in the center of each board, all you need to do is push down on the bowed board and get it into alignment. And then your money. There's a couple things to keep in mind when you're gluing up a large panel like this. You need to alternate the grain on each board to account for wood movement. You're going to look at the end grain and make sure that the wood rings are going in opposite directions. You're also going to want to apply glue to each one of the slots that the biscuits will be going into. Once your biscuits are in there, they're going to react with the glue and swell up a little bit and make a very tight joint. And my final tip is that you want to alternate clamping direction. This will keep the panel from bowing. We're going to cut off about 1 inch of waste on each side, so I measure with my tape measure and carry the mark with my carpenter square all the way to the middle of the panel. From there, I use my track saw track to carry it the rest of the way.
A straight line.
The beauty of a dedicated track saw is that you just line up the end of the track to your marks, clamp down each side of the track with track saw clamps, and then make the cut. And the cut is so smooth, like I can't believe it's not butter. Then I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side. Speed square, carry line, lock and load, make the cut. I missed a piece. There we go. Now onto the construction of the breadboard end. We need to allow for wood expansion on the breadboard. So what we're going to do is use the Festool domino to create tight mortises along the tabletop. I put 1 mortise in the center of each board and 2 in the center of the center board. Then we're going to switch to the loose setting on the domino and hit the breadboard end side. The center of the breadboard will be tight mortises. And then I switch back to the loose setting for the remainder of the breadboard. I'm doing a dry fit with the breadboard end, and you can see that the breadboard is sagging a little bit, and that's because it actually started twisting after it got acclimated to my garage, and I never fixed it. And now I must live with this failure forever. Forever, ever! Right now, I'm repeating the same steps on the other side for the second breadboard. If I were to redo this, I think I would put more mortises in each board because I do not have the XL version of the Festool domino, which can utilize much bigger tenons. So I figure an extra tenon in each board may give it a little extra strength, or maybe not. I'm carrying a mark from the center of the mortises to the underside of the table. Because we have loose tenons on the outside of the breadboard without any glue, we're going to use wood dowels to keep the tenons in place. I'm locking in my combination square at the center point of the domino. If everything goes right, this is where the dowels are going to go through. Now that that's locked in, I can quickly make a mark on the underside of the breadboard end, designating where I'm going to pre-drill for the dowel to go through. This gives you a good look on how loose the tenons are. I'm going to pre-drill into the breadboard end and through the tenons. So using painter's tape, I mark out the depth that I want to go. I'm inserting the dominoes back into their mortise homes, malleting the breadboard back onto the tenons, clamping the breadboard tight, but not too tight, and drilling the holes for the dowels, but not too deep because we don't want to go through the tabletop. Drill through the rest of your marks, remove the clamps, and remove the breadboard end. If the dominoes pull out, put them back into their mortise homes. Before pinning these things in, we need to elongate the holes in the dominoes that we just created to allow for wood movement. You can use a file to do this and sort of angle back and forth, slowly but surely making your elongated holes. Or you could just use a drill bit.
Wow! What a hole!
I'm going to repeat this through all of the dominoes. Once I finish pre-drilling, I'm going to pull out the dominoes and prepare for glue up. The table side is going to take glue, whereas the breadboard side of the tenons will not take glue, except for the two center tenons. I'm making sure I get a really good amount of glue in there and then using an art paintbrush just to spread it around generously. I'm wiping off any excess glue and then inserting the tenons. I'm using a mallet to get the dominoes in tight, and then I'm wiping any excess glue because we don't want glue on the breadboard side, except for the center tenons. Slide the breadboard back onto the newly glued dominoes and then clamp it into position. Then using your mallet, hammer in the wood dowels, but not all of the way. We're going to leave a little bit of the dowel out, that way we can apply glue so that it can get to the underside of the breadboard, but not into the domino. Once all of the dowels are in, I'm going to cut off any of the excess dowels with my Ryoba handsaw. Once all the dowels are cut, I'm going to sand the hell out of this because I made really sloppy cuts, as is tradition. After giving the underside a generous sanding, I'm going to use my 45-degree chamfer bit to clean up the edges.
Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2.
With the timeless trestle table kit ready to go, it's time to assemble it. Flip over both of the pedestal bases along with the crossbeam, and then place the legs over top, making sure to line up the holes for a nice square, easy assembly. I'll be using a 3/4 inch ratchet to secure the lag screws into the base. Just a little ratchet trick, 3/4 inch Benihana 900. Yes! So sweet. I make my way around to each lag screw, making sure not to over-tighten one without letting the others catch up. As a side note while I'm ratcheting, when you're designing the tabletop for this, you want to make sure that it's at most twice the length of the kit, otherwise it may tip over. Now that would be an absolutely massive table, but something to keep in mind. Once all the screws are secure, I'm going to flip the table over and then try and test it to make sure it's actually tight. And this may be hard to believe, but there is no way that my muscles could shake this thing free. It is super tight, almost as if it was manufactured as one piece. The arm assembly is like a cross-halving joint, and it may take a strong constitution to push these things in all the way, so you may want to use a mallet. That is, if you're not strong enough.
Don't judge me, Lizzie. Don't you dare judge me.
Is there a faster way to do that? Can I do it? You make it seem so easy.
Come on. Come on. Breathe. You delivered 3 children. Come on. You can ratchet the table. Row. 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 Get out of here. Get out of here! Now that my project manager will never question my constitution again, I'm going to assemble the other set of arms. Oh, look what I just found! A ratchet drill bit! Huh. This way is a lot more fun. And easier. Unfortunately, I did not charge my battery, so looks like we're going old school for the final stretch. Again.
Who said hit movies can't be smart?
I taped out how much of the screw is going to go into the tabletop. Then I'm going to countersink the bottom of the arm to make sure my screw makes it as far in as it needs to. Next, I'm going to pre-drill through the hole, and then I'm going to elongate the hole to allow for wood movement. I moved my drill bit side to side, going up and down, breaking the drill bit. Typical. Pull the broken drill bit out of the base, and try again. I'm also going to elongate the hole from the top as well. And I'm going to break another drill bit and crawl away and hide in shame. Next, the project manager and I will place the tabletop onto the base. I make my way around the table, centering it and making any adjustments in preparation for attaching the top to the base. Pre-drill into the tabletop with a slightly smaller drill bit, and then I'm hand tightening the screw so that I don't drive it through the top of the table. And now, after a year of dining in the breakfast room like animals, I finally have a beautiful double pedestal modern farmhouse dining table. Trademark. This is my first time building a breadboard end for the tabletop, so I just got some cheap 5/4 inch pine from Home Depot in case I mess it up. Later on, I'd like to use a harder wood like a maple for my tabletop, but there's always time for harder wood. What are you doing? Why don't you come here? I don't think you're supposed to sit there though. You jump.